y'all, it's Kay from the Literary Apothecary and welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a series review for the Rook and Rose series by M.A. Carrick. I loved this series so much. This has become one of my favorite series. I knew when I was reading book 1, The Mask of Mirrors, that this is going to become a favorite series for me. It's a trilogy and it makes me sad that it's just a trilogy because I love these characters and this world so much. I wanted so much more from them. But first, let's talk about a spoiler-free summary of kind of the whole series wrapped up. Like I said, this is a trilogy. It's about a young woman, Ren, who is a con artist. She comes to Nadezra, the city of dreams, with a plan. She's going to pose as this long-lost daughter of the noble house of Tremantis and steal money from them, essentially. She's going to secure a fortune for her and her sister Tess so they can live comfortably for once in their life. And then she's going to disappear without a trace once she has this fortune secured. This is a Venetian-inspired high fantasy with found family, morally great characters, and great queer representation. This series follows Ren and the characters throughout cons upon cons. There are so many different cons in this. We come into this knowing that Ren is a con artist from the description, the blurb, but there are so many different cons in this, and there's more characters that are more cons too. Ren turns out to be not the only con. The City of Dreams is really the city of cons, and it's fantastic. You never know which characters that you can trust and which characters to not trust. The morally great characters with all of the various cons going on keeps you on the tip of your toes throughout the whole trilogy, and it's just absolutely fantastic. Book 3, Labyrinth's Heart, just came out this past month in August, and I read the arc of it, and I absolutely loved it. I'm not going to go through my whole CAWPILE score or my rating or anything. I'll just give you a very quick summation. All of the details are in my written reviews, which you can find in my blog or my Goodreads, which are both linked down in the description below. But for the Labyrinth's Heart, I got a total CAWPILE score of 61 divided by the 7 categories, which gives me an 8.7, which gives me a 4.5 rating, which fell right in line with my initial rating after I finished reading the book. So I really loved it, but it just needed, for me, I think the main part of why it wasn't a 5-star read was that it felt like there was 2 different books going on in this one book. There were 2 different stories going on, and it just felt like too much for one book. Even though I loved everything that was happening, I would have loved it spread out more into maybe 4 books instead of just the 3 books that we got. But I do have a CAWPILE score for the series as a whole. So since this is a series review, I thought I would do a CAWPILE score for the series instead of just the individual books alone. So characters, I gave 9.5. I loved them all. They were complex characters. They felt real. They were funny. My favorite characters were Vargo and Peabody / Alucius. These were my favorite characters from book 1, and they remained my favorite characters through all 3 books. I loved everything about these 2 characters. Atmosphere and setting, I gave this a 9.5. The atmosphere is so visceral that I can feel everything happening in this book, in this world. The setting is so real that it felt like a real place. Notice the Venetian-inspired fantasy, but it felt like we were right there in Venice, and it was just so well done. The writing style, I gave a 10. I absolutely love M.A. Carrick's writing style. This M.A. Carrick is actually, if you haven't seen my reviews for the first 2 books, it's a duo author group. There's 2 authors writing as one, and it is absolutely seamless. You cannot tell where one writing one writer switches to another one. Sometimes you get these groups of writers, these duo writers, or, you know, even groups, and you can tell where one takes up after another. But in this one, it is absolutely seamless. I didn't even know it was a dual author group until someone pointed it out after I read at least book 1. I think it was when book 2 was coming out when I learned it was actually 2 writers writing as one. They did it absolutely seamlessly and perfectly. Highly, if you are an author and you're looking to do a co-author with another author, highly recommend reading this series because you cannot tell where they picked up. The plot I gave a 9 because it felt like sometimes, especially in this last book, the plot kind of took a backseat to the characters, which I don't have a major problem with because they handled it really well. But sometimes the plot was either the backseat or a little bit wishy-washy on what the actual plot was because there was so much going on. Intrigue, this is absolutely a 10. The intrigue was always there. Now, the intrigue changed throughout the books and the storylines, what was happening to who and why and when and where, but there was always intrigue going on, and I absolutely loved that part. Logic and relationships, I gave a 9.5. Our relationships were always great, even when they changed. The logic sometimes was a little iffy, although I think that was at least partly on purpose. It wasn't all supposed to make sense until the very end. And so 9.5 for logic relationships. And at last, enjoyment, an absolute 10. I always enjoyed what I was reading with M.A. Carrick. And I've already started, before I knew that she was part of this duo group, I had started reading half of this author's books before. Marie Brennan, author of the Lady Trent series. I absolutely loved A Natural History of Dragons, and I need to continue that series very soon. Now I want to pick up the other author, Alex's writing, because I love this series so much. I know I'm going to love both of their writings. So this gives us a total of 67.5 divided by 7, which gives us 9.6, which is 5 stars. For this series as a whole, 5 out of 5 stars. My favorite book in the series was actually book 2, The Liar's Knot. It felt like it was the perfect book, middle book for this trilogy. It took everything we got in book 1 and built on that while leading into book 3 at the end, and it was just, book 2, The Liar's Knot, just felt like perfection to me. As I said, my favorite characters were Vargo and Peabody / Eleusis. They were my main characters throughout the whole series, and I love them. And, you know, I would love to get either short stories or novellas of spin-offs on these two characters, and really all of the characters. They were just absolutely amazing characters. I want to know more about all of our characters. So that's my series review for Rook and Rose series. 5 out of 5 stars for the series as a whole. I absolutely loved it so much. If you are a fan of, you know, cons and intrigue and political intrigue, especially high fantasy with a unique magic system and morally great characters, you would absolutely love this series. Highly recommend it to everyone out there. Does not get enough attention. If you've read the Rook and Rose series, let me know in the comments below what was your favorite book in the series and who was your favorite character. As always, my Patreon and my Discord information will be in the description below. Keep reading, and I love you all to the moon and back. Bye.